Good. Carol and Joe, how are you?
We're doing well. How are you, Rabbi?
Excellent. You've got a nice setup there in your back patio, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, it's wonderful back here.
Well, we decided since there aren't going to be too many nice days that we can do this still, we, excuse me, we decided to come outside.
Nice.
Nice, very nice.
How was your Mother's Day?
My Mother's Day was great. My daughter Jessie cooked dinner, and
Nice.
we didn't think that Sarah and Tim and their family were going to join us, and then at the last minute they were able to join us. So it was really great to have the whole family together.
Mhm. Well, what we did was we had a Zoom meeting on Saturday. Most of my family was in Florida, and then my kids were available here, and Joe and I, and my mother was ecstatic. I mean, they sent me a note from the home to tell me that she was glowing all day.
Oh,
Of course, I saw her yesterday, and she doesn't remember, but at least she had a good day Saturday, and she remembered. She talked to the boys. We've triplets. My niece has triplet boys, and she still thinks they're little. Well, they're leaving for college,
you go get the book.
so she was ecstatic to see them. It was just nice, a nice day.
So nice. And Marilyn, you're looking good there. How are things in your world?
Things are good in our world. Our kids came over to our backyard and we ordered some food, and they brought the new grandpuppy.
Where'd you get food from? Any place you can recommend?
She went to a place in Cave Creek called Puppy Love. It's rescue dogs.
Oh, I was thinking about the dinner that you said you ordered food.
Oh, the food from Oregano's.
Ah, oh, I like oregano too.
Several salads and pizza. That's what we had. Because we like their salads a lot.
Yeah, they're huge.
They are.
Yeah.
So we like the Pablo Picasso. We like
Nice.
the Oregano's favorite. I like the Caesar, but they have a very nice dinner salad too, so that was good. Because we have vegetarians and vegans, and you have to, accommodate for everybody.
Yeah.
But the funny part was the dog. He's so cute.
Nice.
He actually laid down on the patio and fell asleep and then woke up again because he was running around the backyard. So it was fun. Good to see the kids. I couldn't hug them or kiss them, but I love to see them. So let me tell you the tale of his name. First, he was Snickers because they've had a Bosco and a Hershey. So it's a chocolate theme. Then he was Babka, like a chocolate babka. All my Jewish friends thought that was cute, but they all didn't agree on it. So the next name was, the next name I think is Winslow, because he came from a reservation up by Winslow. So now they're calling him Winslow. It's kind of funny.
What happened to Heath?
Oh, Heath. They call him Heath too. I don't think he doesn't answer to any of them. Heath was another chocolate.
Heath bar.
Right, Heath bar. Well, every day we say, what's the name today?
Yeah.
There you go. That's an activity.
That's a good activity. It lifted everybody up. So that's what's going on with us. We're working on a new project, but it has to do with what we're going to talk about, I think, a ritual kind of thing.
Ah, okay, great. And Debbie Rubin, how are you?
I'm doing great, but there's not a whole lot that's new. Same old, same old. Hope everyone's well.
Good. You going to be able to make Musar on Thursday night?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been in touch with your chavruta?
Yes.
Good.
Oh, yeah, we stay in touch. She's doing well.
Good. All right. Sandy Goldstein, how are you?
I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Paul and I just were watching some of the, we work with HomeSmart Real Estate, and we've been watching a lot of the the classes that are coming around. Things are really,
Oh, lost her.
Yeah, you froze up there, Sandy.
oh, we have,
I was on the edge of my seat. What classes she's doing?
Rose.
All right, maybe she'll come back. Mr. Blake, what's going on? How are you and Diane?
I wish I had better news. Waiting for some phone calls right now. She's in the hospital.
Oh,
We had a PET scan, full body PET scan yesterday as scheduled. It was a struggle to get her there, as the last 3 or 4 days have been very, very challenging for her. Constantly out of breath. And so after the PET scan, I said, where should we go? And everybody said to the ER. Obviously, last 3 or 4 days, if things had not been as bad with the virus, I would have brought her much sooner. But we said, we got to go. She's not doing well, major distress. And so what I've gotten so far from the doctors, although they're doing more and more tests, is that there's fluid in both lungs now, which is not a good thing.
is that what she's been having withdrawn every few days from the lung?
Well, yeah, it was the left lung, which has always been the troublesome lung.
But now it's
And
both.
now it's in the right lung. And her potassium was very high because she's been dehydrated. So that's been making her not feeling that well either. And I'm hearing a lot of Diane news right now. So.
And are you allowed to see her?
No,
And she's at Shea?
she's at Shea, and it was tough yesterday. I was like a drop off. Here you are, and saying I love you to each other, and that was it.
Wow.
Thank God for Duo. I was able to see her and speak to her last night. So she can talk a little bit, and we sort of communicate a little bit from that standpoint. So,
Do you think she would be up for like a FaceTime visit?
let's see how the rest of the day goes in terms of the results of some of the tests and what they want to do procedural wise, and I'll get back to you on that. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you have my cell number, so you can just text me.
Yep. Okay.
Our hearts are with you, Frank.
Thank you, dude. Thank you.
Rabbi, just so you know, Diane has an Android phone, so she doesn't have FaceTime, so you have to use Duo, which is basically the same thing. You can get it from the App Store, and it allows you to do a one-on-one face-to-face meeting.
Do
Does
you-
that only work, Joe, with Android to Android, or does it work with an iPhone too?
It works with iPhone to Android, Android to iPhone, Android to Android, iPhone to iPhone, so it works on everything.
Rabbi, it's DUO, and you can download. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, just let me know.
Okay.
By the way, Frank, if you notice, I have the T-shirt you got me on when you came back from Israel. So this is from the Frank brought this back for me. It's from the Israel Defense Forces Intelligence, and underneath, which you can't see because I can't stand up, but it says, "My job is so secret that even I don't know what I'm doing."
That's good. Sandy Kane, what's going on with you?
Well, I'm just kind of taking in what Frank said, so I'm just kind of processing and wishing my thoughts and prayers to Diane.
Yeah.
We had a very surprisingly lovely Mother's Day. My son and daughter-in-law decided to come over and social distance in the backyard by the swimming pool. And they got busy and they made my favorite dessert, rugelach, from scratch. And they also made baba ganoush from scratch. So I'm a happy camper, a very happy camper.
Nice.
I'm just staying busy with my fair housing volunteer work and Zoom webinars and things like that. And life is going fast.
Yes. Joel, are you up in Prescott, looks like?
I am.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to lower the blind behind me. I was hoping you would see a lot of trees.
You're a
blowing.
little silhouetted, but yeah, we can see the trees.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been, we've been here since Friday afternoon, and we got up here in time to do the nosh and go to services. And so that was nice. And it has been really windy, and it has progressively gotten colder. We normally have every window in this place open when we're here. And on Mother's Day, I woke up and it was 58 degrees in the house. And Cheryl was not a happy camper. And so I didn't quite, so we are now, I'm wearing long sleeves and heavy stuff, and the high where we are is about 64 today, and the low tonight will be about 39.
Ah,
Better you
So,
than me.
and we are probably the two biggest wimps in the valley. So we're not quite certain why we're here, because obviously it's beautiful at home. I think we had prefaced this trip based on last week in Phoenix, and really hadn't gone much further. We have been still doing a lot of cleanup. We did a major remodel, I don't know if it's major, but over the winter up here, and there's a lot of construction post cleanup still going on. I had an interesting experience yesterday because I have a urology appointment Monday, and I got a KUB, and Southwest Imaging got up here, and that's where it was supposed to happen. So I had to call my urologist, and he forwarded to Yavapai County Medical Center, which is the hospital. And so it was not attached to the hospital, but it's their medical imaging. And I went in there, and it's the first time, I guess, I've had a doctor's appointment during the middle of this, or any kind of medical appointment. And I walked in the door, there was a person there who took my temperature with a gauge on my forehead, asked me all the standard questions that everybody gets asked now, traveling, et cetera. And then asked me to give her my cell number, and told me to go to the car and wait for them to call. And then I came in, and everything was spotless. Everybody was wearing gloves and masks. There was a person with sanitizer that anytime anybody even got up from a chair in the waiting room, they then went and sprayed and wiped everything down. When I went back to the x-ray table, the same exact thing. And it's different than it was 2 weeks ago when we were up here, where there was little social distancing. We were very uncomfortable. Virtually nobody was wearing masks. The number of cases, I think, have tripled here in the last 2 weeks. And all of a sudden people, the x-ray tech told me, yeah, people are now getting it and taking it way more seriously. So anyway, we are cooking in. We're going to pick up something Friday evening for dinner from one of our local restaurants, and it's just the change of pace is wonderful. We're very, very, very fortunate to be able to change the scenery, and we're in a cabin, so I guess we don't have cabin fever here.
Well, Dr. Malk, I wasn't sure you'd be able to make it to join us after your radio thing, and I did get to hear it because I had the time wrong, and my staff meeting ended at 12:05, and you came on right after that, and you comported yourself very professionally. You did a great job. Dr.
Yeah,
Malk was just
terrific.
interviewed on the radio about his important book that he wrote, and even though you had a short time, you got a lot of important information out there.
Thank you, Rabbi Capel. It was my first trip to the rodeo. I'm getting mixed up between radio and radio, but it was short and sweet. And the interview, actually, I thought she was very good. And my first time ever been on the air. And I've had some good feedback, and I think we got the message across about the importance just of having the conversation. You know, there wasn't much time to have more than that, but if people got that message and got the message that palliative and hospice care is available out there for those patients who would benefit from it, then it was mission accomplished. So that was all good. Otherwise, I have no other complaints. I'm drinking my afternoon tea British style with milk and sweetener, but not the way the Brits do it.
Yum.
I'm just happy to see everybody, and hopefully everybody's holding up okay, taking it one day at a time, and using all the tools we have available to stay afloat: the resilience, the positivity, the spirituality, the camaraderie, the gratitude, all trying to stay fit, eating healthy. You combine all those little pieces, and you have a really good chance of doing well. But it takes work, and all of us have to do those little bits of work to stay happy and to stay afloat. That's it.
Yeah, I think the fact that the interviewer obviously has someone close to her who's actively dying, that was, unfortunate for that personal situation, but it definitely captured her attention about the issue.
Yeah, and my cousin from California, Dr. Bob Shapiro, he called me afterwards and he said, "Thank you for going to bat for both of us." I said, "My pleasure. You know, we're trying to send an important message that is a difficult message, but that a conversation people need to have. And once you've had the conversation, you'll be happy you did."
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
I heard you also, Dr. Malk. I was very proud of you. And you got all your points in very efficiently and smoothly. And I think you did a great job.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. Maybe my next career will be the Alan Malk Comedy Hour. And
You'll have to compete with Joel Sherman for that.
we can have all kinds of guests on.
It could be the Alan and Joel show.
One of my friends from back east sent me a text, said, quote, "You have a future in radio." And I said, "Wow, that's a pretty rapid."
Yeah, as long as they didn't say you had a face made for radio.
Jewish face number 7 is what I have, I think.
And to reiterate also, Dr. Malk, I thought you did a much better job than a newbie.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
the individual complimented you and were a great team. And she was, as Rabbi Capella indicated, in my mind, very educated to the subject, which added to it.
Proud to know I was wearing my Red Sox cap during the interview.
I noticed.
Happy to hear that.
So, I know we had to postpone your talk to the Temple Chai community, and you were talking about waiting until we can do that in person. I would love if you would just give some thought to maybe, rescheduling something virtual, since it's not clear when we're going to be able to do something in person in the near future.
Anytime is good. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
All right. Lori Steen, how are you today?
I'm feeling really good today. How about that?
Glad to hear it. What's
Yeah.
making you feel good today?
Oh, I just got off of a call with a I guess you would call it was a Zoom with a life coach. She just made a lot of sense of everything, and the participants had some good things to say, and it was just a good session.
Nice. Is there one takeaway that you can share with any of us?
Yes, I've written it down even. What can I let go of so I can accept what's going on? And the other one was awareness, acceptance, action.
Yeah, those are good ones. Thanks. Craig, how are you? Oh. We didn't mean to wake you, Craig.
Well, I just had to unmute, so
Yeah.
I'm doing well. I've just been busy around the house, and I think, you know, I realize it's been a couple months, and I'm just really, really antsy. So it's hard for me to sit still and read. So I've just been reorganizing all over the house. So.
Do you get outside for walks or hikes or anything?
There's so many people out there not wearing masks, and I just don't want to be around them. And last week I took a couple of walks around the neighborhood at night, and it's already heating up. It was warm at 10 o'clock at night.
So do you not go to the grocery store?
No, I'm having everything delivered. So that's how I'm handling it.
It seems to be such a disparity between people like yourself who are being so cautious and careful, and yet gyms are now opening. I'm trying to wrap my head around both of these simultaneous realities.
Yeah, I got a email from the JCC, so they're looking to do that, and I don't know what I have risk factors, so I need to be careful, and maybe I prefer to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, I do Orange Theory, and you know, I've talked about how I'm not exercising as much as I need to, and much as I would love to get back to Orange Theory, the thought of walking into that little tiny space with all those heavily breathing, sweaty bodies, you know, compacted on top of each other, it's hard for me to imagine what that's going to look like.
Right, and the machines and the gloves and the mask, and how are you going to do it?
Rabbi, may I ask in this arena, because obviously, you know, I'm in the gym 6-7 days a week. Alan, did you yesterday see any of the Senate testimony by the the 3 doctors plus the assistant head of the health administration?
Yeah, I saw bits of it. I also saw something on CNN about a church in New York where 44 members of this congregation have died of COVID.
Wow.
44. If that isn't telling about, about what congregating with a bunch of people can do, I don't know what is. There's still a lot of unknowns, Joel, as to what this virus does. I mean, now there are things coming out that it can affect the central nervous system. It affects clotting. There's a physician who died of a stroke because of COVID-19, and there clearly was an association. It can affect the kidneys. Now it's affecting children and causing some kind of a bizarre autoimmune syndrome in children, even causing another scary condition called Kawasaki's that can affect children's hearts. And it's developing these tentacles that previously were, this is still very much a fluid, ongoing syndrome because it's such a novel virus. So, I'm not sure there's any absolute correct answers. No one is really an expert on this. It's hard to be an expert on something that is so new. However, as far as, how contagious this is and the concepts of quarantining and self-distancing, I think there's ample evidence to show that's appropriate. we need to keep doing it till we see how the next couple of weeks unfold. You know, it's all over the place. So I mean, I think Dr. Fauci is probably as knowledgeable about this topic than anyone is. But you know, so many people are researching it. So many people are. There are a lot of other highly educated people who can give you similar and slightly different takes on what this virus is doing and will continue to do.
Right. When I got that same email, Craig, obviously from the J yesterday, I spent about an hour because I'm at the J or LA Fitness for 3.5 hours every day of the week. I can't wrap my head around the fact this thing is spreading. The numbers are certainly not what is being spoken about politically by reopening. I can't go to the J right now. I can't go into the locker room, Craig. I mean, how would that work? And how, you know, working out hard and sweating a lot, how would that work with other people? And I don't care, frankly, if they're 5, 6, or 7 feet away. It just seems we're doubling down on the exposure. The same with restaurants. I can't get myself to even think about going into a restaurant.
Well, I will try one other thing. At the 2 banner hospitals I work at, and obviously all the people working in the emergency department, we are all taking the maximal precautions, face shields, masks, headgear, and if we go into a patient's room, putting on additional gowning. And there's now been numbers that have come out. Many of us have had our blood drawn to see if we have antibodies. Of course, this test is not exactly accurate, but the positive number of people testing positive so far of the healthcare providers, of the physicians, nurses, is only about 4%. So that tells me that putting on all this PPE, the personal protective equipment, is working. If we just 4% of people have tested positive, even if it's not that accurate to test, tells us that we are doing the right thing by taking these precautions. Now, down the road, time will tell us to how accurate, how the exact accuracy of that. But I totally agree with you, Joel, that these ongoing precautions that we all should be taking, and that I think all of us on this doing, I think will pay off till we at least see in the next few weeks, and we will have more numbers come out for sure as to how this is going, especially with the economy opening up. If this is turned out to be a good move or a potentially really bad move.
Well, I know the number of cases in Georgia they announced 2 days ago, since they've been open for 12 days now or 13 days now. They are up 64%.
Surprised.
Wow. Debbie Waitkus, tell us what's going on.
We don't hear you.
Yeah,
We can't hear you, Debbie.
Debbie, we can't hear you.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, she's not muted. All right, we'll come back to you. Myra, how are you today?
I'm good, thank God.
All right, you keeping busy?
Pardon?
Are you keeping busy with all your Zooms?
I left the Zoom meeting to come to the Zoom meeting, and I don't know where to be. And with like I've written to other people, you can't dance with one tuchus at 2 weddings.
Sandy Goldstein, we couldn't hear you before.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk now?
I hope so. I was having like internet connection
Oh, okay,
problems.
great.
So I don't.
You were saying you and Paul had been.
But there is something. Yeah. Well, there's something that is coming on tonight. I'll tell you real quick. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
It's on Nova and it's on Channel 8. Doctors are strategizing to stop the spread of COVID-19. Researchers work toward finding treatments and vaccines. How the disease emerged, what it does to the human body, and how it became a pandemic. This particular program is on, I believe, at 8 o'clock on Channel 8.
Sounds
I plan
great.
on, and I'm going to have Paul watch it too, because we need to know a little bit more in an hopefully political arena here. Maybe Channel 8 will be able to provide that for us.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know.
Something is going on at 7 o'clock at Temple High. What's going on at 7 o'clock?
I think Rabbi Kleinberg is continuing his teaching tonight.
Yeah.
Another wedding.
Hey, there you go. Sandy Copel, nice to see you today. How are you?
Good, good. Same old, walking, eating, Zooming, reading.
My mom did have a surprise visitor for Mother's Day. My brother and sister-in-law drove in from Long Island and went for a walk with her in the city, so I'm sure that was nice.
Absolutely. We had a Zoom Mother's Day too, which was fun.
Yeah.
And so it goes, catching up with old friends and trying to see how my people are all doing.
Yeah, hey, Sandy Goldstein, you left us with bated breath when you dropped off before. You were talking about the classes that you and Paul were taking, and we were left.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, these are just classes all about the new environment in real estate. And it is going to be very, very different. So, there's a lot of avenues that we have to chase down. I don't know. It's, when you're in the business like this, and Joe, you probably realize this, you do a lot of things besides your sprint. But it's a learning curve that you never leave. It stays forever. So we're finding, actually, it keeps our brains active. So that's good. But we're looking forward at least to the next fall. Things are going to really change. So it'll be interesting to see. We have classes usually 2 or 3 times a week. And they're all Zoom classes. So,
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So Paul has to wear clothes.
He has to work all the time and wear lots of clothes. Yes.
So I think
Joe,
I saw Lori Steen raising her hand. Did you want to say something? And
yeah,
Myra, let me just respond to your comment in the chat. Yes, we're going to talk about your homework assignment, which was goals. But first, we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to just check in and share how they're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention to Craig and Joel that I canceled my JCC membership or put it on hold till the end of the year. And so I'm not getting charged for it. And I'm doing my body pump class via YouTube because I happen to have some hand weights at home. So I don't know if that helps either of you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Debbie Wakes, were you able to figure out the audio situation?
Maybe. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, well, I went off and came back on, so there you
Yeah,
go.
good.
Had a lovely Mother's Day weekend with the kids up in Munns Park, and they're still there along with the 4-legged kids, so it's very quiet at home. And we've progressed on our roof project. It's still up on the roof. And I have I haven't done what you're doing, Rabbi, with being the administrator on a Zoom call, and tomorrow will be my first time, so I've been practicing a little bit of that. We're doing a 93rd birthday celebration for one of the founders of the LPGA, so I'm learning some new things too, Sandy. I don't think you ever stop learning, right?
Right.
And
hopefully not.
Yeah, I also put out a survey to scholarship recipients that that have received Maryland's scholarship, and just so that I can do some social impact reporting. And the comments coming back they're so meaningful, they're so profound, and they're moving. And of course, I have to sit there with a tissue because I mean, they've got me in tears. And so some of the things that I've been able to do while we're in this wonderful time frame have been pretty special. So I'm choosing to bask in that component.
That's wonderful.
Good for you.
Very gratifying.
Yeah.
Barbara, can you hear us?
She's muted.
Yeah. Yeah, she, she's got the
Hello.
She's got the kids
Am
under.
I-
There she is.
Am
Oh,
I
yeah.
unmuted? Yeah, hi. I'm kind of in and out here right
Yeah,
now.
no, that's fine.
But in about 10, 15 minutes, I'm going to be in another room. My
Okay.
daughter-in-law takes this back to be her office, and then I'll be able to be more present, I think. She's getting the 4-year-old set up with watching something. So.
How exhausted are you?
It depends on the time of the day you ask me. At the moment, I'm okay, but check with me in a couple hours, and I'm like, I'm pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm okay.
Yeah, there's a reason people our age don't normally have 4-year-olds.
Yeah,
Right.
Not as full time as I'm having them. But it's I'm grateful for the time that I have. But right now, the fact that they live in the LA area, and they were thinking in terms of going back in a couple of weeks, by the end of the month. And when they got this news yesterday that it's going on until they're saying through July to August 1st with this, and they know for sure there's not going to be any programs for the 4-year-old at all. So
Yeah.
I don't know. At this point, I don't know how much longer they're going to be here, but.
Well, I don't know if they have any interest, but my understanding is that the JCC camp is opening June 1st.
Wow.
Where?
Here, the Scottsdale. Scottsdale
I
JCC.
don't think you'd want to. I'm surprised. Were they going to have the kids in little masks or something?
I don't know how they're doing it, but I'm pretty confident about that information.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried, and Steve is worried that there's, things are going to get worse as things are opening up more. And
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so I have a feeling they're going to be here for, and it's not like I want to push them home because I can't stand it. They got to go home already. Sometimes I feel like that, but if they're safer with us, I'd rather them be safer.
Sure.
Because, and my daughter-in-law could stop working as much as she is. She does psychotherapy, so she does, Zoom sessions. But I don't think she can handle them, the two of them, for like a whole day. She's okay in short. I see it, she's great with them one-on-one, and she's fine with them in short segments, but some people just can't do that the same way with kids that young for hours on end,
Especially if she's working too, trying
to
keep that together.
That's the thing. If they go home, then they're not gonna, she had a nanny 3 days a week while she was working for the little guy, but they don't want to bring the nanny back. The days that she doesn't have the nanny is working for a nurse who's working in an ER at a hospital there. So, they're paying the nanny so they don't lose her when they eventually, but they don't feel like they could have her on the other days.
Yeah.
And we must fight in the Israeli Defense Forces, that we must be part of that society, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, the reason that
what are we listening to?
I don't know.
Because
I could just mute everybody.
Is intrinsically a Zionist.
Okay, I just muted everybody. So anyway, I had given you all some couple of homework assignments, and I'm very gratified to know that a couple of people really took them very seriously, because I did hear from a few folks. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was goals. I know that Joe and Carol have talked about goals. Debbie Wakis had some very, very specific, measurable, well thought out goals that were very fascinating. And my mom has some kind of big picture goals. So Joe and Carol, do you want to start off? Unmute yourselves, and I can unmute you maybe, and tell us what your thoughts were about goals.
I had some short-term goals. Basically, the short-term piece was to get through this current COVID crisis, unscathed, I guess the word. And healthy.
There's so much
Back again too. She's muted again. Okay. Anyway, to get unscathed, get everybody, including my family, through this. And then, a longer term is just to try and be happy and content in the world as it will exist after this, and to be able to continue to learn and to give back where I can to my family, the community, the world at large, and just to be the old word comes to mind, to be a mensch, and just be a good part of society, So, again, at my time of life, SMART goals don't seem to make any sense to me because, to be specific, measurable, time bound, and all the rest of that stuff. That stuff I used to do when I was in business, but I don't have to be time bound at this point. So, it is what it is. And I'm just very happy. I hear what everybody else is saying, but I just kind of am breezing along right now through this whole situation. And I find that my days kind of fly by. I just don't know where I told Carol this morning, there was a lot of stuff I wanted to go before this class got started, and I never got there. So I don't know. I'm busy.
Told you what happened.
So you're really looking at goals through the COVID lens.
Right, for the most part, at this point, because I think we're all agreed that the world is going to change when we get through this. It's quite going to be the same. I don't think it's ever going to be the same the way it was. You look at the world differently. I mean, she's back. I'm like a 27 years of colon cancer survivor, and after surviving that, again, the world changed. You look at life differently after you've had a view down the rabbit hole, so to speak, or look at your own mortality and say, what's going to happen here? And you have to kind of make some changes. So immediately after that, I looked at life differently, and that's why we're out in Arizona, because I wasn't going to wait until I retired to come out here, because that's where we always wanted to go. So you have to kind of look at it from where you are and where you think it's going to wind up. Carol, what do you got?
Well, mine is not just a goal. It is I forgot the word I used.
Dream?
Yeah, it's a dream. It's a dream and it's a goal together. Many years ago, 52 years ago, Joe and I eloped and got married. We came home and things were not the way they should be in the house. I'm not going to go into this whole big dissertation, but bottom line is my parents were not going to give me the kind of wedding I wanted. We went to the rabbi. Joe and I were married in the Jewish religion, and that was the end of it. So over the years, I said things to my mother in the way that I wanted a real Jewish wedding where I would walk down the aisle and I'd be under the chuppah and the whole bit. No. And so there's been some conversations over the years, and bottom line has always been no. Well, in 2 years, Joe and I will be married 55 years. I will be 75. And I said, I had mentioned to Joe in talking that I would still like a real Jewish wedding where I'm in a gown and I walk down the aisle and I'm under the chuppah and we're with friends. we have decided definitely our Jewish anniversary is September 4th. That was the day we were married in the rabbi's house. In 2 years, September 4th comes out on a Sunday. And that is my goal, my dream. And like I said, Joe and I have not decided definitely if we want to do it or not.
She said, as long as I can come in shorts and my tuxedo t-shirt, I'm good with that.
You know, it sounds to me like this has been a dream for quite some time. This is not a fleeting, thing.
This has been going on at least, I would say, 40 to 50 years.
Yeah, I think, at that point, you deserve to have that dream fulfilled. I don't know if you can see the quote I put in the chat. Goals are dreams with deadlines.
We have exchanged our vows.
Yeah.
We've gone to marriage encounter. I don't know if you're familiar with that. We married to what? 4, 5, 6 times? I don't know how many times. But anyway, we exchanged our vows many, many times. But it's different. When I saw my daughter under the chuppah a little over a year ago.
2 years.
2 years ago. It's just so different to watch her, watch them walk down the aisle and you pass your child off to their attendant and they go and they're under the chuppah. It's just a whole different thing.
Well,
as you're well aware, I had the opportunity 3 years ago to have a wedding. And, certainly people our age who'd been married previously, it would have been very easy to just do something more simple. But Ron had never had a Jewish wedding. He got married just with a judge. And I thought, I wanted him to be able to have that experience of seeing his bride as a bride and under the chuppah, and we had the full on wedding thing, and it was great. I hope you make it happen, Carol, and I hope I'm there.
I hope you're there too. Thank you, Rabbi.
Debbie Waitkus, tell us about your goal setting process, because you look like you could teach a class on this. Maybe I have to unmute you now.
Okay. I have actually done that goal setting class a couple times.
Yeah.
But it was, I want to say about 15 years ago, a group of girlfriends who were all solopreneurs, we all got together to create a little sisterhood to have some sort of accountability, because we all had businesses, but without, a large staff or things along those lines, which the majority of us used to have, you can kind of just do like what you do in COVID, right? There are no deadlines. There's no sense of urgency. There's no, I can do it tomorrow. I can do it next week, or maybe I'll shove that off to next month. So we came together and went through a process. One of the women actually was in organizational development. That was the work that she did. So she actually facilitated taking us through the process of putting together strategic plans that were timely and measurable and with all our milestones and whatnot. And we would do an annual retreat. Usually we'd go to our cabin in Munns Park for a few days, and we all kind of knew the drill of setting a vision, mission, and value statements and going through our current goals and 5-year goals. And I always thought, 5-year goals? Really? Who knows about 5-year goals? I mean, let's just, I want to deal with today, and tomorrow will happen eventually. But, she shifted our focus a little bit. But the beautiful thing about that whole process for me and for us is that we got to know each other so well that if someone was, I just remember this one woman signed up for another class to learn something that she was already the expert in, but she was avoiding owning her presence, if you will. And so we were able to call her on her shit, right? You kind of know know enough about each other to lovingly say, well, wait a second, that's not allowed on there this time, but we would check in every month, whether in person or over the phone in a conference call, to measure ourselves and where were we at, what did we need help with, how we could support each other. And we were always good at celebrating. We've done enough spas together to celebrate different things, but we always talked
That's
about
our other topic we're going to move to.
yeah, but also how are you going to celebrate achieving your whatever level, we hit all your buzzwords or whatnot. But I pulled out from, we've disbanded. A couple women have retired, and we just sort of thought, it's time to be done. And we did a great celebratory event when we finished, but it was a long time together. But I pulled that out in light of this exercise, and I really enjoyed reading in the chapter about rewirement versus retirement, because I think that that's really what this is all about. But I looked at, and that's what I sent to you, the 5-year goals that I had from a few years back, and they were all pretty much still viable, and some of them actually we've checked off the list, but or I've been able to say, oh, I'm there, and then modified with some things that are now important to me. But I find that those things that are now important to me, that I do want to go back to a process of not a full strategic plan, if you will, or a process, because Joe, we're not doing things in corporate life the way that we were, but there needs to be, for me, because I could go play golf every day, some sort of level of accountability that I actually am moving forward and not just dreaming without the deadline, right? So that this was a really lovely exercise for me. So I thank you for that.
So can you share with us a goal that you're setting for yourself?
So let's see, because I printed out what I sent to you. I do want to, I had on here from previously that I wanted to be a regularly requested speaker, business golf presenter, consultant. And so I need to redefine what regular means.
Yeah.
But I know that I do all those things, yet one of the things that I want to incorporate in are my good friend Marilyn, who's passed. I've spoken a couple of times and used her stories for some of the business concepts of hitting home, which is for me very effective to always have a third party instead of just talking about myself, of referring to someone else. And those were very well received. And so I want to move forward on that in order to help inspire and not just say, oh, I could have done that, right? I want to feel that sense of, okay, I actually made the effort and I tried and I did it and I had some impact, because I think that we're all purposeful. We're here for a reason. So that's one of the things that I'd like to add in, but redefining regular is going to be essential. So.
Yeah, regular could mean, once a week, 10 times a month, 10 times a year.
Well, it could also be quarterly, or just have a group that I do regularly, right? I just want to explore a little bit, and I'll find that niche.
Mom, I know you talked about some goals. What were some of the things that came to mind? Let me unmute you. Well,
I'd like to get out of this thing feeling well, and that my family should feel well. And I just like to go back to life as it was. I have a wonderful life. Last year was absolutely an exceptional year. I mean, I had 2 graduations from graduate school. I had a wedding. I had 2 great-grandchildren. I mean, and I took my family away on a cruise. It can't get much better than that. So I'd just like to keep it going. And hopefully a year from now, next Thanksgiving, be able to be with my whole family again. Because love being with my whole family. That to me is the highlight of my life.
I'm with you.
Children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd also like to be able to get back to my synagogue stuff and, you know, my meetings, go back to the UN and stuff like that. I can't imagine that we're going to be able to go to a General Assembly meeting in September where we're going to see all these amazing heads of countries speaking. I think that's going to be gone, but who knows?
Yeah, people don't know. My mom does a lot of volunteer work at the UN, which is walking distance to her house. So in her normal life, she could be at meetings at the UN 2 or 3 times a week. And she has had, she's been at the General Assembly when Netanyahu spoke, and, you know, some pretty cool opportunities. So those were the people who, yes, Frank. Let me unmute you. Yeah.
Somewhat on the light side, I had 2 specific goals that are very measurable. One was to shoot a hole-in-one on my golf game. And the second measurable was to shoot my age. But I'm afraid I may have to wait until I'm 95 to be able to accomplish that goal. And I think some of the golfers would understand that specifically. So those were my 2 specific goals, and they were somewhat on the light side, but I still dream about that I hit this wonderful golf shot, and it's so sky, it falls on the green, and rolls and rolls and rolls, and it sees this little hole, and it says, I think I want to be there.
Frank, I can tell you from my experience, because you were there the day I got my hole-in-one, and I never saw it go in the cup because my eyes weren't that good at that time. So after I had my cataract surgery, maybe it would have been better, but I had to rely on Paul Goldstein and Frank to start yelling, and I had no idea what happened. Because
I may have to end up at Goofy Golf where I can really figure away.
When you have shot your age, the problem was it wasn't through 18 holes. It was just a little short of that. So.
Yeah.
Well, does that really matter?
No.
Probably not. But
Frank, I just took out a calculator, and you only have 2 years to wait anyway to get there.
There you go. There you go. But more on the serious side, I think the goal that I've had and dream is that my family is somewhat taken care of, especially my 2 sons, my granddaughter, that whatever I can do in terms of helping them lay out their plans for themselves financially, health-wise, career-wise, has been somewhat of the goal that I've been sort of working towards, and helping guiding them so that they are, again, somewhat comfortable for the future and not have the stress and strains that if they hadn't put together a plan, or they didn't have some guidance, or they didn't have some of the financial security that hopefully I can pass on to them, that I guess I could step back and say, I've done some good things. I've accomplished what I want to make sure that my family is, quote, somewhat taken care of.
So anyone else do any reflecting about goals, either as Joe said, through the lens of this moment, or bigger kind of life goals?
You know, I love this concept of rewirement as opposed to retirement. I look at it in a similar way, and that is reinventing myself, reestablishing things that I kind of let slide, that were important to me and should be important to me again. For example, my Yiddishkeit, my Jewish identity. We sometimes get slack on that. I've been guilty of that. And it's something that's always been important and precious to me. So I've recommitted to connecting every single week on at least minimum of 2 Jewish related events. It can be a Zoom conference, it can be
Love
reading
that.
a book, whatever it is. There's so many different ways to do it. And it just gives me the warm and fuzzies. And I think it gives anyone who takes a pride in their Jewish identity the warm and fuzzies too, be it Israel, whatever it is. And sort of reestablishing some of my idealism, looking back on things that made me joyous and happy 30 years ago. There's no reason they can't make me happy here at age 68. And, just improve my whole quality of life. It's all about quality of life.
Richard, I saw your hand. I just wanted to point out, Debbie introduced that term rewirement. If you look in our book on pages 24 and 25, the authors do use that term as well. So on page 24, they say, speaking of retirement, they look at it in 3 phases: separation from work, limbo, not sure what to do next, and reintegration, rewire into a new stage. And then they develop those thoughts on the next page. Retirement isn't what it used to be. Rewirement might be a better word for this transition. Some of us stop working full-time but still work part-time. Others seek an encore career, either as a volunteer or for a salary. I know, for example, before it shut down temporarily, Joe was very involved volunteering at the MIM. So a lot of people find that as a way to rewire. For many of us, this is a major transitional moment, often suffused with ambivalence and mixed emotions. How might you want to mark it, and with whom? So that's going to be the next part of the conversation, is creating rituals to commemorate, celebrate certain life transitions. But Richard, you have the floor. Except you're muted. There you go.
Ever since I was a teenager, I learned about the Second World War, which my father fought in. I wondered how a nation that had such a high cultural standard as the Germans did could do that. And then later I wondered, well, how could they possibly, I started to think about us and how could we possibly be overtaken or by a group, an authoritarian group. And a couple of weeks ago, I read Christine Hanna's The Nightingale.
Oh yeah, that was a great book.
That's a good book.
Yeah, and it explained how that could happen. It's relatively simple. So to fight that, my small contribution will be to sign up for Joe Biden's campaign. To sign up for Joe Biden's campaign and do some telephone campaigning. That's basically it.
The one thing I was going to throw in, Rabbi, is that
yes.
When I was about, I don't know, somewhere in my late 20s or early 30s, we lived in Massachusetts, and there was a gentleman that I was friends with at the time who gave me some advice. He had retired at age 55, and we used to have breakfast regularly. And he said, you know, when you think about retirement, Joe, he says, think about it, the fact that it is not the absence or the lack of work, it is simply doing the work you would rather do than the work you have to do. So, you know, that's kind of one way to think about it. And I've always remembered that, and kind of that's kind of what I do now. You know, I try and give back, as I said earlier, where I can, whether it's at the MIM or volunteering elsewhere. or working at the temple on the golf tournament or whatever it is. But things keep me occupied, keep me busy, keep my mind going, and keep learning, lifelong learning process for me. So I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, I think lifelong learning is huge. I think it's a fundamental Jewish value. Of course, the rabbis express it through learning Torah, but we might expand the concept of just being a lifelong learner wherever our area of interest is. And, you know, when Alan, you were talking about some of the different ways to connect Jewishly, I was thinking one of the things that I love about Judaism is that it has both breadth and depth. So whatever your area of interest, you mentioned Israel, if you're interested in Israel, if you're interested in literature, if you're interested in politics, if you're interested in philosophy or ethics or Bible, whatever your personal area of interest is, there's a breadth and a depth of Jewish material that can engage your learning about that topic. So, you know, I just think it's one of the really great things about our tradition. Maimonides says, you know, that it is a mitzvah to study Torah every day. That's why when we do that series of morning blessings, Asher Natan Lasech Bina Lavchin Ben Yom Uvein Laila Pokeach Ivrim Matir Asurim, you know, that series of blessings that's part of Shacharit. There's also a blessing, La'asok B'divrei Torah, to study words of Torah. Because it's a mitzvah to study on a daily basis, the rabbis wanted to make sure that we fulfilled that mitzvah every single day. So they built it into the prayer service. So even if we get busy and we don't have a chance later in the day, we've at least fulfilled our minimum daily requirement. And I'm sure you know the text that they chose then to put into the Shacharit service is that text from the Mishnah of, these are the mitzvot that have no measure. You get the interest in this world, but the principle stays in the world to come, and it's honoring your parents, accompanying the dead to the grave, providing for a bride and groom. And the study of Torah is equivalent to them all. Why? Because presumably if you study the Torah, you'll put the Torah into practice. So Maimonides says, this is a mitzvah. Until what age is it a mitzvah to study Torah? And his answer is, until the day of your death, meaning every single day. And you know, what's interesting is even if you lose your capacity to learn, even if you suffer from dementia, it's still a mitzvah to study. And conversely, as we show a respect for Torah scholars, even those who lose their scholarship because of advanced aging and dementia and Alzheimer's, we still honor them for the learning that they have. And there's that beautiful midrash that when Moses took the first set of tablets on Mount Sinai and he came down and the people were worshiping the golden calf, and he was so upset and angry that he broke those tablets and then had to go back and get a new set, that those old broken tablets were collected up and they were put in the ark as well. And the rabbis say we learn from that even when we're old and broken, we're still in a place of honor. You don't just discard the old and the broken. So learning is, whatever your area of interest, continuing to learn is vitally important, certainly from the perspective of our tradition. Any other thoughts on goals that came to mind? Yes, Barbara. Are you muted? Yeah. I can't unmute you.
Maybe I.
There you go.
Okay, maybe if I muted over you, then you can't unmute me.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to unmute everybody and we'll try again.
I'm unmuted now.
Okay, good.
And I've been in and out of the conversation, so I apologize if I'm not on track. And I just finally got my book. Came by Amazon at the door.
Nice.
So it's interesting. I think some of my goals have definitely changed. At one point, I had goals of getting my kids married, and wouldn't it be one they both married Jewish kids on top of that? And it took a long time. They both married kind of later, but nowadays it's not as late, you know, in their later 30s. And amazingly, even my daughter married Jewish, conversion, which you were part of, Rabbi Capel. And although they're not practicing at a in-depth the way they originally were making a big deal that they were going to be home for Shabbat every Friday night and light candles. I don't think that happens all the time. But an amazing thing, their baby, who's a couple months now, they actually finally, they agreed that for the couple days that we could, with our help, they signed up, or I signed her up for Temple High's preschool it's care, but she probably wouldn't start before October, but just Tuesday to Thursday, rather than her being in Gilbert with one of the other the other side grandparents that have been there. And I'm, so I'm really excited that Jewish part is going to be continuing. She has did that. But I couldn't wait to have goals of having grandkids years ago. I just couldn't wait. When was it going to happen? When was it going to happen? Are they going to ever get married? So I'm like thrilled to death that that's actually here now. And I've been wanting to downsize the last couple of years. Now I see we can't downsize yet. I don't know when the kids will totally be safe to be, now I'm glad that I have the space for one again. So I know we won't downsize now for at least a couple of years. But I'm feeling more pressure that I want everything that's in my home, like my photos, my, records of things. I'm feeling more pressure that I want everything very neatly organized so my kids can find everything. And, we have videos that went to VCRs, that went to the DVD, and now my son's trying to transfer things to these other computer, I don't understand it, the hard drives on the computer, and so he's getting some of that done working, which is nice. But I'm feeling like a pressure now with that family goal, that I want everything to be just all the things that I've saved and I have to pass on will be in a format that it won't just get junked because something to us and they have to just clean out the house quickly. What I think happens in a lot of cases. And so anyway, I just right now are more kind of self-centered around family things because that's kind of where my life is right now. And then immediately I just want everyone to get out of this safe and be finished with it. And the thing is, I had a goal that, Steve, you don't have to work as many hours as you do, as many days. You can retire more than you're doing now. And let's just travel. Let's the world. We've done some traveling over the years, but minimal amount compared to what we both did when we were young. We both were like, Europe on $5 a day travelers for the whole summer when we were back in the late 60s, early 70s. We haven't traveled to that extent, at which we could do more at a certain level, but that's all changed. I have no desire to see the rest of the world right now. I've lost that. I don't want to go on another cruise ship. I don't even, my son just said to me the other day, it may come to the point that the rest of the world is not going to want any US citizens to travel to the countries because we're the ones with problem right now with this COVID. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that, but I've lost that desire to travel. I'm really feeling very based and very much, I just want everyone to be safe. I want the things that I treasure for our family to be able to continue. And hopefully they'll look back one day and remember when, how did they get through that? So anyway.
Yeah, the
I don't know,
joke
I don't know if that's what we were talking about, but
yeah, no, that's perfect. In 2030, you know, some 40-year-old is going to say, "I just finally used up all the toilet paper that my parents hoarded during the COVID virus." I know those are perfectly legitimate goals, and I put up a couple of resources in the chat box. Ron and I both have had great success with this company, ScanMyPhotos.com. So you can write to that website, and they'll send you a box, and you put all the photos in the box and mail it back to them, and they send it back to you. Actually, they no longer even give you a DVD. You just download them from the cloud. And they also send you a book with little thumbnails of all of them by number, so that if you want to find them. And it's been a great way to take those boxes and boxes of photos and pare them down into a manageable and shareable mechanism. And then if you need any help with organizing and sorting through in the house, I also can't praise highly enough Rachel Winter, who has touched every single spot in my house. And I'm a pretty organized person in general, but she's a professional.
And who is that?
Rachel Winter. She's a member of the Temple. She has a business called Happy Home Organizers.
Huh.
So
Rabbi, does
Rabbi,
the
was there
photo?
a cost on that scan the photos, the box that you sent?
I want to say Ron just did it recently. I want to say maybe it was in the $500 neighborhood. And that's, I think it can accommodate like up to 1,800 photos. And that includes paying for them to make sure they're all oriented the right way.
Gotcha.
If you have the time to do it, there are things you can, in fact, I know that it's expected that that's the thing I'll be doing after the kids aren't here full time, because my son, he's got something coming to us so we can continue doing that.
Yeah. It's you know, it's labor intensive if you want to do it yourself. Yeah.
It's quite what? Expensive?
It's labor intensive.
And in fact, I know Sharona Feller did that. That's one of the things that she got one of those things, and she finished doing all that when she was quarantined before they left. For,
yeah, it's a kind of a great quarantine project. Lori Steen, you had a question?
Yeah, how do they organize those photos? Are
They don't organize them. They're just
a way to capture them.
Some organization done before you give it to them.
Yeah.
I can show you. So this is the book that they sent us, and I'll just show you a random page. So it has little copies of each photo with a number on it, so that then if you want to look up that actual photo, you can just pull it out of the cloud.
And that book costs $500?
Well, it's $500 for the service of them taking 1,800 photos, and scanning them and putting them into that format.
But that wasn't 1,800 photos, was it?
In that book, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have the patience or the confidence in my technical capability to be able to do it myself.
A lot of time.
Yeah. So I would just share, my personal goals, like many of yours, had to do first and foremost with family, staying connected with the family, keeping the family connected with each other. Now that you're getting to know my mom a little bit, I'm sure that's no surprise where I get that from. She has managed to preside over an ever-expanding empire that still stays connected with each other. So it's pretty impressive, actually. And particularly, with my daughter moving to the hinterland in August, that's that goal is getting moved up to the top of the list even more so, because it's very easy when they're both 10 minutes away to be able to sustain that. But when she's 10 hours away, we'll see how well that works out. Unlike Barbara, I still have the travel bug. Very disappointed that our trip for this June got canceled, and we've already rescheduled it for the following June. So Ron and I had done a trip with Backroads, which was a bicycle trip, and we loved it so much that since that is something that is a little bit physically demanding, dependent on a certain physical capability, I'd like to do as much of that as possible while I still have that physical capability, because as we all well know, that can change for any of us in the matter of seconds. I would like to be able to, as I frame it, stay productive. So I don't know if that means writing, organizing a legacy of the work that I've done, or just continuing to work as a rabbi. Joe, I'm in the unique position of I don't have hobbies. I already do what I love to do, and that's being a rabbi. So I don't have other work that I'd rather do than the work that I'm doing. So that's a blessing and also a challenge, because it means when I think about retirement, what would that look like? It's not, I'm not dying to do painting or woodworking, or even, I can't imagine. So,
just say something, if I can interrupt you.
Please.
You retired from the service.
Yeah.
You focused on your full-time avocation and vocation and love of being a rabbi. So even though you were a rabbi in the service, but that was also, to my mind, something you retired from to focus more fully on something you really love to do.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. I was in the Army for 38 years. And so by the way, I don't know if anybody participates in Smile on Seniors. I think that that's maybe even an older crowd, but on next Tuesday, the 19th at 12:30 p.m., I'm going to be their guest speaker. They do a Zoom program for Smile on Seniors talking about my military career. So it'll be in the EHI if people want to tune in to that. Yeah, so retiring from the Army, that's interesting, because I was never one of those people who I can't wait to retire, I can't wait to retire. And then about the last 2 or 3 years, I finally was ready. And maybe I'll get to that point with being a rabbi too, but certainly not there now. In the Army, we had a very formal evaluation process. So every year you would have an annual evaluation, and you always had to put down for the person who was writing the evaluation, what are your goals for the coming year? And I always had the last bullet in my, as the OER, the Officer Evaluation Report, my OER support form was always inspire by word and deed. So I would say I will still keep that as a goal, transferring from the military to the civilian world, to inspire by word and deed. So I don't think we're getting today to events that we want to commemorate. So it means those of you who haven't had a chance to think about that can go back again, looking up chapter 2, cooking up new rituals, and let's come prepared next week to talk about some, and we talk about celebrate. I mean, some of it may not be so celebratory. The examples that they give in the book, things like downsizing, surviving a life-threatening illness, But removing a wedding ring after a divorce, for example, is something that's mentioned. I don't know if I would use the word celebrate in that context, but things that we want to commemorate more so, whether it's more from a celebratory aspect or just a mourning or note, taking note, not letting important moments in our lives get by without recognizing and acknowledging them. So I'm gonna stop there. We've got a couple more minutes if there's any closing words or thoughts.
I want to thank Joe and Carol Newman and Debbie for your contributions to the Joker Broker. They're appreciated, and regardless of what Rabbi Capel thinks about me, I'm trying to spread the word.
You're inspiring, Joel. You're inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah, those cakes. Who said, Debbie, you were the one who sent those cakes?
Yeah.
Was that amazing?
Unbelievable.
Debbie, Cheryl, and I are going to split hamburgers and fries tonight.
Okay.
Inside joke.
Anyone else?
Who's got the teeth, though?
that was funny. Good. Well, so maybe we'll see some. Oh, Frank Blake. Yes.
No, I'm just waving goodbye.
Oh, okay. I'll blow you a kiss.
No, so long. Because
all right. Let us know how we can best support Diane.
Thank you very much. And there was, when I mentioned that, I corrected myself. Something that my mother always said to us was never say goodbye to each other, because that was somewhat of a permanency. Always say so long.
And in Hebrew they say lehitraot.
See you later.
To see. Yeah, I'll see you.
I will see you. So long.
Father always said that. He never said goodbye to us. He always used to say, "I'll see you in a little while."
Uh-huh.
He never said goodbye. He always said, "Be well, be safe, take care of your family."
Interesting. That's a good one, Carol. Be well, be safe, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So socialize while distancing is tomorrow. Of course, Kabbalat Shabbat, Shabbat AM, Sunday morning Torah study. So lots of opportunity to stay connected.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you for sharing, everybody.
Shalom, Shalom's a good one. Shalom.
Shalom, Litro.